I want to take a look at some more Maggie Haberman related information about Trump. Of course, she released Confidence Man, this big book about all these different revelations in regard to Trump, all this reporting she did, as well as stuff she got out of conversations that she had directly with him. And just so many different things have come out of it, and it's all been super interesting. But first, just based on her experiences talking and following and reporting on him, she gets asked, okay, based on that, what do you think? Do you think he's gonna choose to run in 2024? And here it was her response.
What's your view of whether he'll run again?
With the caveat that I don't know and that I could be proven wrong, I think he's backed himself into a corner where he has to run. I think that he needs the protections that running for president he thinks would afford him in combating investigations that he calls a witch hunt.
The baseless, abusive, and depraved lawsuit against me.
And it is the way that he fundraises and makes money. So much of his identity now is about being a politician. So I expect that he will run. That doesn't mean that even if he declares a candidacy that he will stay in.
So that last part, ad popped up. That last part was the most interesting to me. And that's something I haven't heard anyone else pitch. The idea that Trump could run, but then not stay in the whole time is the wording she used at the end there. Not stay in, as in run and then decide to drop out of the race? I don't know what that would mean. But I do agree that he's backed himself into a corner and likely believes his only safety net or line of defense would be him being a presidential candidate against all of his legal troubles. Now, I hope that's not the case. I hope him running for president or even being president doesn't prevent justice from being served. But you see why that would be a belief from somebody. And so maybe he thinks that, and he thinks that if he holds on to the title of someone actively running for president or president, then he won't be held accountable for the crimes he's being investigated for. And so I definitely agree with that. But the possibly not stay in the whole time, I didn't get exactly what she meant by that, or at least didn't understand or agree with that assessment. And then one more interesting bit of information from her reporting.
Something else in return.
All right, so one last one here. This is about what to do, trying to challenge the election, quizzing nearly everyone.
So this is incredibly funny and horribly dangerous.
Even the valet who brought him Diet Cokes after he pressed a red button on the Resolute desk about which different options would lead to success. A, is that real? And B, in the context, I'm not making, the White House valets are incredibly hardworking people who love the institution of the building.
Yes.
But if Donald Trump runs again, who will be around him?
I mean, you just hit on the most important point about a future Donald Trump presidency.
So if you missed that, she is reporting that Trump, oh my gosh, he would, even to the people bringing him his Diet Coke, when he would click his Diet Coke button, he would say, hey, how could I overturn the election? He was just saying to everyone, hey, person bringing my Coke, got any ideas on how to overthrow our democratic process? Wow.
I know there's some theory that he's figured out how to do it better next time, and that's not really true. He is obsessed with personnel. Everything with Donald Trump comes down to personnel. Where's my Roy Cohn? Searching for his fixers. Now, what he did figure out in 2020 is that he finally had the quote-unquote right people who he thought would help him. Those are the kinds of folks he would turn to.
Right. It's fascinating. It's great from beginning to end. I highly recommend it. It is. As I told you in the green room, as an AP Wire guy, you read the prologue and you think.
So, two big parts of that. The first is that it's a little bit silly to picture him so desperate after losing the 2020 election, where he's turning to anyone and everyone requesting ideas on how to overthrow the democratic process and overturn the election results. But then the serious part of that is, number one, the fact that he was doing that shows just how much he wanted to overthrow our democracy. But number two, as she noted, maybe he'll have better people around him next time, if there is a next time, that would allow him to properly do that. Or a lot of people who follow his ideology, believe in his ideology, whenever they're in power, well, they have the right people who are able to actually enact the plan that he was trying to. Because he has a lot of ambitions and a lot of them are horrible, but he's not necessarily the most intelligent, villain ever. He's not super intelligent at all. And so because of that, he wasn't able to successfully overthrow the election, or wasn't able to overturn the results successfully because of both the institutional strength that withheld that from happening, but then also the people around him who weren't on board or weren't competent enough or whatever it was. Pence is an example of someone who wasn't on board and did prevent a lot of bad things in that moment from happening by saying, no, I'm not going to do your plan. And so going forward with that knowledge, we have to be so careful, and we have to make sure people understand the real threat that is posed that we talk about so often, because we had a guy sitting there as the most powerful individual in our country, arguably on earth, thinking about ways so openly that he's saying it to the person who brings him his Diet Coke, thinking of ways to overturn a lawful and free and fair election. That's dangerous. And we got lucky. It didn't work, but it could next time. And that is the stark warning that everyone needs to understand and hold in their heart.